Steven, bro, you're doing it wrong. I thought I told you. You're doing everything wrong. Let's fix those bicep curls, man. I'm gonna help you build some massive peaks. No, Steven, yeah, so I mean, obviously, you know, muscle building a great physique is a lot of it has to do with our training approach, our principles, our execution, nutrition as well, right? But there's other elements that are gonna impact a man's testosterone. And we have low testosterone, we have low energy, we have low focus, we have low drive in the gym, low intensity. I mean, obviously we'll talk about low sex drive and other carryovers, but that's in your everyday life. We're talking specifically today about muscle building. So what I wanna help you with first is some of the tips and things that we can fix on your bicep training. And then afterwards, we'll talk a little bit more about some of that lifestyle factors and kind of how that's impacting your testosterone. Sound good?
Sounds great.
I got a couple tips, man. I think it's really gonna help you. First thing, let's start with the first tip. Just pick the dumbbell up for me. See, that's that first thing we wanna change. And that's what everybody does, right? So we need to understand what is this actually accomplishing. So people think about weights, they think about exercise, they think about movements. We need to look at this as a tool. This is a tool that we're gonna use to create tension in the working muscle. And if we come at it from that approach first, everything I'm gonna share with you here from this point on should make a little bit more sense. So grab it again.
I'm afraid I'm gonna do it wrong.
You are gonna do it wrong probably. So our tool now, what we've done is we've created an even amount of weight distribution on both sides of our arm. So I'm actually gonna bring in the second tip I'm gonna give you here and kind of teach them simultaneously together.
All right.
So the bicep serves two functions. There's elbow flexion, but then there's what's known as wrist supination. So, and you can literally see as my wrist turns, you can probably feel your bicep activating. So understanding that the bicep has two functions, elbow flexion, and that's what most people do, right? They grab a dumbbell, even weight distribution on both sides, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna flex my elbow. But that's only half of what we're actually supposed to be working. The other part is going to be this supination. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put that down, and when you pick the dumbbell up, pick it up right here with your thumb as far over as you possibly can.
So not in the middle?
Not in the middle,
So
all the way over.
All the way to the
Yep,
edge.
so now when you pick it up, it probably feels a little bit heavier on this side than it does on this side, right? Not a huge difference, but there's a little bit of a difference in there.
Yep.
So that's gonna be the first tip, is when we're using dumbbells, we want to slide our hand over and put our thumb as close to this side of the weight as possible. And this is gonna take us into...
That's how it's done.
Yeah, so not in the middle where he was before, but he wants it slid over here as possible. So now we got more distance here than we do on this side, creating, in time, there will be more resistance coming from this side of the dumbbell. Put the dumbbell back down now. Okay, so we know we're going to be flexing at the elbow, right? The second thing, because we want to create that supination in the wrist, as we're curling up, some of this is going to be what we're thinking mentally, so that mind to muscle connection, but I actually want you to think about turning your wrist to the outside of your shoulder. So as you're curling up, I want you to create, you're not turning your arm, you're slightly turning your wrist using this resistance.
I'm bringing
here
this side
to the outside
side to the
of
outside.
your shoulder. Yes, sir.
As I'm coming up.
Yep, and you should feel it. Really get a peak contraction closer towards the top. There should feel like there's more contraction taking place than in your typical bicep curl.
Absolutely.
Correct? So the first two tips here, Steven, that are really gonna help you and help anybody watching this is when you're using dumbbells, create an off-centered position with your hand, creating more load on this side, and then as you're curling, you wanna curl up, but then also think about turning your wrist out towards the sides of your elbows. So once again, we're creating more tension by using the dumbbells to create an off-centered weight load. So those would be the first two tips here that we can actually use in our workouts. And then I guess the third tip is gonna be, how often are you training your biceps?
I don't know, maybe twice a week, like a Monday and a Friday.
Maybe.
Like that, yeah.
Maybe you hit them a little bit on the back day, and then maybe you hit a little bit on, you know, a second day, or maybe you have one specific arm day, which is what most people do. They're like, okay, I'm gonna hit them every 4 to 5 days. What we need to realize is our biceps, they're used in a lot of everyday activity, right? You know, you reach for things, you pull things toward you. Are you training your biceps for muscle growth? Not really, but you're using those muscles, and they're getting used every single day. Well, in order to create change, in order to create growth, we have to create a higher level of stimulus. So if we're using our biceps every day in everyday life, there probably is some logic behind maybe training them more regularly. So I came up with a program, this was years ago, called Massetic Arms. It was based off of a training approach known as Neuromuscular Frequency Training. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna train our biceps twice within a 24-hour period.
Twice a day?
Twice over the course of a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So let's say you train them on Monday. So you go in on Monday, you crush a full arm workout. It's arms, it's biceps, triceps, and you hit your shoulders as well. Tuesday's workout, you're gonna do chest. What you would do though is you would finish Monday's workout, it'd be balls to the wall, really crushing it, really creating a lot of muscle damage. You would start Tuesday's workout off with about 6 to 8 sets of biceps. Lower weight, lower volume, high repetition. And we're just gonna create 3 things inside of the muscle. And number 1 is there's something known as muscle protein synthesis. This is the period of time post-training where your body is rebuilding and actually repairing and restoring muscle growth. On average, that's about 24 to 48 hours post-recovery. So if we train biceps on Monday, our muscle protein synthesis is gonna carry us over to Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday. If we can trigger the protein synthesis again a second time in that 24-hour period, we've extended that muscle growth period out even longer. So now we're getting into possibly Wednesday, maybe an early Thursday morning, and then we can go ahead and hit again on Friday, which was what you were doing. So now we've trained it 3 times, but we're actually building muscle over the course of the entire week based upon that muscle protein synthesis.
So it's not a full arm workout?
Not a full arm workout.
Boosting it a little.
About 6 to 8 sets. So let's say if you did 12 sets of arms on, 12 sets of biceps on Monday, Tuesday you hit 6 sets. You do some cable curls, maybe do a variation of some type of dumbbell curl. So that's the first benefit you're getting out of this 2 days in a row training. The second one is kind of an increased mental awareness of those muscles. I'm sure you can remember this, like you train chest really hard one day, or legs, or any muscle. You're more aware of that muscle the second day, right? You're like, oh, you're just like, I can feel it because I was training it secondly. So it improves your mind to muscle connection. Like obviously I can't give you any, true scientific evidence behind this, but based upon anecdotal research, what you just told me, yes, when I train a muscle, I'm more aware of it the next day. So you're gonna create more awareness of what those muscles are and what they're actually doing. And then the third increase is kind of tied into that as well. It's just an improved mind to muscle connection. When you're training a muscle and it's a little bit sore, you have to think a little bit harder about what am I actually doing? How am I contracting these muscles? So to sum up that third tip here, which was train your arms 2 days in a row, it's gonna increase your muscle protein synthesis, to carry over the muscle building process a little bit longer. It's gonna improve your mental awareness of that muscle. It's gonna increase your mind to muscle connection. So to recap everything, Stephen, 3 tips. Grab the dumbbell.
Like that.
Thumb over to the corner. As we curl up, we're not just flexing the elbow, we're thinking about supinating the wrist, getting it to the outside of the corner. And then the third tip is we're just gonna start training our muscles, our biceps 2 days in a row.
More training.
More training, more frequent training, more frequent training.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Yeah, brother, absolutely. And I also heard that you had some questions about maybe some things that you were doing lifestyle-wise. I mean, obviously you're a very burly man. I don't know if you're really struggling with testosterone to a certain degree, but you were talking about like maybe there's some lifestyle things, maybe some foods or things that you're consuming or putting on your body.
Isn't testosterone going down over the years?
It's massively declining.
1980 or something like that?
Yeah, it's something I think.
I
think it's the average 20 or 25-year-old man today has the testosterone of what a 6-year-old did just about 30 years ago. Yeah. So it's an epidemic across the world. We actually have a free report that everybody can get out there. So you should download it, guys. You should download this as well. 7 worst testosterone killers. If you click that first link down in the first pinned comment below, it's gonna tell you about some of the lifestyle stuff. Sleep. What food should you be consuming? What things should you be avoiding in your life and in your everyday lifestyle? So check that link out there, Steven. It's been awesome, brother. I love you, man.
Thank you,
dude. And we'll see you guys in the next one.